You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio, man. We are here once again, and today we have a true honor talking to a music artist, and we're going to learn about his music career and also what he's been up to. We're talking to Jonah McClelland, and he's going to be talking about his move to Nashville and his networking, what he's been doing for his music career, but also his life story, his background story, how he got started. So first and foremost, I want to welcome you to the show and say, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Man, doing awesome, man. So before we talk about Nashville and before we talk about your music and your journey, tell the audience a little bit about yourself, man.
A little bit about myself. Yeah, man, my name's Thad. I go by Valid Point. Grew up in North Carolina, moved to Nashville almost a year ago. Yeah, I've been making music for a while now. Started playing drums when I was 14, maybe younger, maybe 12. Just fell in love with music right away, man, and I haven't been able to put it down since. Learned guitar, drums, a little bit of piano, and been making a run at it ever since.
Now, tell us what kind of music you do, because I heard you used to rap too, man.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of all over the place. One time my buddy, or not my buddy, just I guess a fan was like, man, I told my mom, I showed my mom your music. I'm like, oh boy. And she's like, this is cool. What is this? And he was like, bedroom hip hop. I was like, all right, I guess that sort of works. So yeah, I guess like it's a little bit of hip hop, a little bit of pop, a little bit of pop punk every now and then. I've been compared to like Kid Leroy or Juice WRLD earlier on. Yeah, sort of in that vein, just sort of like melodic hip hop type stuff.
And you mentioned the name that you go by, Valid Point. How did you discover that name for yourself to fit what you're trying to do?
Dude, so back in North Carolina, I was with a buddy of mine in his car, and pretty much from the beginning of time, I wanted to be in a band. We were like 16 at the time, and we were listening to The Weeknd, and we were like, man, we should start a band. Like typical like teenagers start a band. You have zero friends who can do anything musical, just the two of us, and we're like, yeah, we should do a band, which was a total pipe dream, because where we lived was like, I mean, kind of in the middle of nowhere in North Carolina in the backwoods, and then the people that we did know wanted nothing to do with music. So we were just throwing names around, and we were talking about The Weeknd's name, and I was like, yeah, it'd be cool to do a name that's like kind of vague. Like, and early on, like I didn't know, he introduced me to The Weeknd, so I didn't know that like it was just a guy. It sort of sounded like a band name, so I was like, that'd be kind of cool to do something sort of vague like that, and do something weird with the spelling. He doesn't have the E at the end. And he was like, oh man, I never even noticed that. And I'm like, yeah, dude, but it's like, it's once you notice that, like when you search it or whatever, it becomes unique. And he's like, that's a valid point. I was like, dude, there you go. That'd be awesome. Put a period at the end of it. And it's like, there you go. And so pretty much mindless. There was no real thought behind it. And we just thought it was cool. And then he moved to Colorado, and I moved to Tennessee years later. And I just ran with it. And then it was funny because we kind of lost connection, but he sent me a screenshot of one of my songs, and he was like, dude, somebody took your name or our name. And I'm like, dude, that's me. And he's like, no kidding. So, I mean, that was the origin story right there in a Honda Accord.
That's awesome, man. So he found out that you were still doing the thing, and he's like, yeah. That's funny. Now, that's pretty fun. I'm just trying to imagine someone send me a text message and say, hey, man, someone stole our name. It's like, nah, man, I just been working.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool because the song he sent me was a song, Show Me Love, I did with Johnny Craig, which was somebody that we both looked up to so much. And I finally got the chance to work with him. So he like screenshot and was like, dude, no way. Someone took our name idea and they're working with Johnny Craig. And I was like, get ready for this, buddy. And so that was really cool. Yeah.
Once again, here on I Am Refocused Radio, talking to Valid Point, aka Thad, and also, man, Jonah. You know, your blood brothers. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about that situation with what he does and what you do.
Yeah. So basically, before Valid Point, me and my brother did a couple like side projects, just sort of like trying to figure out like how to use softwares, and it was GarageBand at the time, and we were just trying to figure out like how to record and whatever. So we were just like doing songs about like sunglasses, like whatever, just having fun, just trying to figure out like what works. And so that ended, and he came over to my house and was going through some of my Logic files and was like, man, you got to put this stuff out. And I was like, well, I don't know what to do about that, because I don't really know the first thing. I mean, this is like CD era. So this is before like Spotify was a thing, but getting your music on Spotify and iTunes and stuff was kind of difficult.
Yeah, it was foreign. It wasn't like available to the nobodies.
Yeah, for real. And so yeah, unless you had like a label deal. So I was like, I don't know what to do, man. And he was like, I'll tell you what, man, I don't want to do anything music wise. My brother's saying this. And I was like, well, I don't want to deal with any of the backside stuff. I don't want to deal with uploading. I don't want to deal with artwork. I don't want to deal with people, reaching out for whatever. He's like, well, let me handle it. I was like, okay. So, I have this idea, Valid Point name. And so yeah, from that point on, that's how the dynamic was. He handles art and kind of the business side of thing, and I'll do the music. And we were living near each other at the time. He lives in San Diego now. So in the beginning, I was like, well, this wouldn't be a possibility if you weren't here. I mean, maybe, but I don't know what to do. I wouldn't have put this music out. I wasn't putting this music out. So I was like, I mean, you're just as much a part of this as I am. So why not? Why wouldn't you be in the pictures? Why wouldn't we be a duo? Like, who cares if you don't actually, who cares? And he was like, yeah, that's cool. And then like at first nothing really happened. I mean, we were like hawking CDs at like Warped Tour and, putting out songs here and there. We stayed pretty consistent, doing about a song a month. And then there was like this weird traction that sort of picked up. And he was also helping me write lyrics. So this like traction picked up. And then as of recently, since he moved, I was like, dude, I guess we have to like rebrand a little bit, because you're in all these pictures. I got all these people asking me like, which part is you and which part, like it was just kind of muddy waters. So now he sort of faded to the background. He's still very much a part of it, but I guess I sort of take the lead. I'm the face of it.
And with that opportunity, being in the music industry, that's part of the process of growth and just putting your, mark on history. And you as an artist, you also network and you do other connecting with people in the industry. How has that played a role in your process trying to make your brand stick out from the rest?
I think networking has gotten us to where we're at now. Even from the beginning, just my brother and I drawing the line in the sand of like, you handle this, I handle that. It was approached more so as like a business. So it was like one person isn't taking on too much. But I was still producing everything and mixing and mastering and all the engineering. And I was living in Wilmington, and I started up, I didn't even have an Instagram. I started up an Instagram and I started DMing like producers, small and big. And I started to realize, I don't know why this didn't hit me before, but I started to realize like, all right, I don't have to do everything. And a lot of people out there, most people out there are better than me at certain things. So why am I trying to make beats when I can work with somebody who's like light years ahead of me? So And that's actually how I met Dro, who's worked with, artists like Felly, and it just sort of I guess like throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks, like I didn't, we were just sort of, I shot my shot with everybody. I didn't really care about like getting rejected or whatever. But it opened up a ton of doors, dude. And it made me realize like, this is how you grow. If you can tap into somebody else's fan base, like, Johnny Craig or Dro or Landon Sears or Gretchen or whatever, like if you can tap into their fan base, and if they have a bigger fan base or smaller, it doesn't really matter. You can grow. That's how you grow. And so from that point on, it's been incredible. And when I moved to Nashville, it was like you meet one person, you work with them, they introduce you to, most of the time it's like their friend or boyfriend or, roommate. And it's like, it just keeps, one person can lead you to 100 different artists. So now it's like, now it's almost a rare occasion that I put out music that's just me. It's like produced by me, just my vocals. Like it's very rare. And it's gotten better that way because, I'm not the best at everything. So, and once you realize that, like anybody who's trying to come up, or I think even people that are massive artists, that's how I heard of like, Ski Mask the Slump God. I was going through XXX's music and I was like, dude, who is this other guy? You know what I mean? Like, that's just how it's really simple and stupid when you hear it, but going through it, it's like for me, it was like a light bulb. I was like, oh my gosh, dude, I'm an idiot for trying to do everything. And ever since then, it's just been going up.
And as far as releases that you've done, you had started back in 2019, putting stuff on Spotify and whatnot. You had this project. Well, you got a lot of singles. You had a project called Gas. Tell us a little bit about that story of the meaning of that song.
Man, that's a good one. That's, I remember at the time I was living at home with my other brother, and it was just a dark time. And my buddy would send me guitar loops all the time. And dude, I remember my brother being downstairs watching Netflix, and I was just so drunk. Like I was absolutely hammered. And not proud of that, but he sent that loop over of that guitar, and I remember producing it, and the whole thing came together in like 10, 15 minutes. And I don't really know if I can tell you where the feeling came from. It was just sort of like, get it out. So, and that was one of the first songs that I didn't write. I just sort of not freestyled, but just like punched in line for line and just sort of saw where it was going. And it was kind of like painting a picture without knowing what's going to come out, if that makes sense. And I've done that since that moment. I've done that ever since with music. I don't really write lyrics down anymore. I don't really have ideas. People send me beats or whatever, or loops, just the same way. And like, I'll just listen to it. If I'm in front of a mic, I just record melodies and I go, and that's how that came out. And it's, I guess sort of an answer that I didn't answer, but yeah.
No, you answered, man, because I was going to ask, was that a technique that you learned from somebody, or did you study anyone's craft to kind of do that yourself?
Not really. Just at the time, dude, it was like I was moving, and I remember like I literally didn't have paper to write down. I had my phone, but I was so drunk it was too small to read. So I just was like, if I still had those files, which I lost that hard drive a while ago, but I guarantee if you went back and listened, it'd be like unintelligible. Because I remember waking up the next day and it was mostly melodies, and I had to like re-record and put words in. Yeah. And then later I found out that Juice had the same thing. But he was incredible. He would freestyle for hours. But that's once that happened, I was like, okay, this is something I'm going to start doing. And it sort of frees you of like, it frees you of like, man, I have to do it this way, or I have to write this song about this. And it also makes you feel like you're in a crowd naked, you know what I mean? Where you're like uncomfortable, where you're like, shit, dude, I got to make something happen here. But it's cool, man, because it works out most of the time.
And you had a lot of, like I said, singles that you put out there. Yeah. And your recent project, I'm Sorry, that's a project from this year, 2021.
Yeah.
What was the growth between I'm Sorry project versus the Gas song? Like, what was the difference in production and just how you approached the project?
Well, that one, so I was over at Cade's house, Candor is his artist name, and he had this loop pulled up, that one, and we were listening to it, and I was trying to do my thing, just like cut melodies and see if we can figure something out. And I had this hook, and I can't remember what the hook was. I'm glad I can't. It was terrible. I was done. And that's something that I hate about myself, and I think people that work with me hate too, is like, if I don't feel it within 10 minutes, 5 minutes, like, I'm done. And it's usually, I'm tapped usually. Like, my whole vibe is just thrown off from like, I can't do music. I suck. I'm really quick to fall into that. So I was at Cade's house, and I was like, same thing. Like, dude, I'm done. And he's like, I already know, man. I already texted Autry to come over. And I was like, I had never worked with her. And I was like, shoot, man. Like, okay. So she walks in the door, and we're all three sitting there. I had never met her. So it's, a little awkward or whatever. And she's in the corner, like, doing her thing. And we're like playing this hook back. I'm like, just delete it, dude. Delete it. She's like, I got an idea. And she's like, yeah, what if we did like a relationship song? Like, a guy and a girl going back and forth. It's like two sides of a story of a breakup or whatever. And then Cade was like, well, I want on. So, yeah, man. I mean, that one, it's cool working with people because it puts you in a place where it's like, you got to all be on the same page or else it's just going to be weird. So, I mean, yeah, coming from being so drunk that you can't even read your own lyric ideas to sitting down and agreeing with two other people about how a song's going to come out. That's progress, right?
I would say so. And I will also say, you having that experience now in the industry and having that opportunity to just grow yourself and maturing your sound.
Yeah.
How did you, I mean, it's really a hard way to answer this, but how did you really find your signature sound so that way it's always you?
Well, I think when I've realized, like, I'm not a good singer by any means, but once I realized, like, I don't have to do rappy kind of stuff. Like, I've always been a fan of The Weeknd. I've always been a fan of Drake. And then Juice came out, and I was like, oh my gosh, dude, people are doing this, which is what I wanted to do anyway, but no one was doing it. So I was afraid to do it. But once I figured that, like, I could do this, like, I can do this light voice, you know what I mean? But then I can also kind of scream into the mic, and then it becomes, when you make a song as an artist and you step back and you listen to it again, the finished product, and you genuinely cannot think of anything that you've heard that sounds like this, you're on something. And that happened to me when I did Ghost early on, that early project, the same one with Gas. That's when, and another sign is when you send it to friends who don't do anything musical, and they're like, this is something I want to listen to. That was another thing that had to click for me. I was like, I got to make music that people want to keep listening to. I can't keep doing projects that are like super tender and experimental. I mean, you can do that all day, but people want to put it on their playlist and listen to it over and over again. And that's the product you have to make. And so I guess that's when I fell into my sound or whatever. I was just like, all right, I'm not going to do this rapping thing anymore. I'm not a great singer, but I know how to utilize the tools that I have and make this like sad boy vibe, I guess. And you can play with it and have fun with it. You can do sad music. You can do poppy music and have like just, and the melody thing is like, that was my biggest thing, was like, if I want something that like I can sing and people can whistle it at work. If you can't whistle my music, then I don't want to do it. I don't like the whole like, you know what I mean? Like that's just not, I can't do that. I can't pull it off well. A lot of people can. I'm not one of them. So that's when I sort of fell into my pocket. And when a couple songs started taking off for what I thought was taking off, then I thought, all right, well, I'm just going to keep doing this.
And once again, listen to I Am Refocused Radio. And we're talking to Thad, aka Valid Point. Man, before we wrap up this episode, man, what's some recent projects that you want to talk about to the fans out there who maybe first time get to know you in this interview?
Yeah, man, keep your head on a swivel. They're coming out quick. I'm gonna keep doing about a song or two a month. And I got some stuff in the work with Maddie Beats, doing some kind of pop punk stuff, which is cool. Some acoustic stuff. I'm getting weird with it. I got another one with Landon Sears. It's like one of the dopest songs I've ever done. It's like another one. I can't really describe it. It's sort of like a song that you want to listen to while you're freaking snowboarding. Just like super spacey and awesome. It's but yeah, I mean, I think something that's kept people around, or at least what I've been told, is like they like that I don't put out the same. A lot of artists do the same thing over and over, and I don't. I try not to do that. I like all kinds of different music, and I take from everything, and yeah, keep you guys on your toes.
And speaking of keeping us on our toes, man, as time is wrapping up for us, when you are out there putting yourself out there, I mean, you have a team now, so that's definitely clear and awesome. But as far as the fact that you have all this influence, you know, because you're in blogs, you're in magazines, you're in radio shows, podcast shows. I mean, someone's going to be listening to this as an indie artist and be like, man, what's the secret sauce? I mean, we probably don't have time to package that up right now, but what would you say helps someone push this forward as far as an indie artist to get themselves out there so that their music can be heard?
Yeah, I mean, I think just take it seriously and treat it like a business, man. Like, I know that making music is something near and dear to you, but once you realize that your music's really sometimes more near and dear to a different a listener, that's when I started to succeed, is when I noticed that I realized I need to make music for people. And I remember being a kid listening to music like Sum 41 and Fall Out Boy and Blink-182, and it didn't matter to me what the song meant to them. It didn't matter. It mattered what it meant to me as a listener. So don't get too caught up in like, hey, I'm trying to make, well, I shouldn't say, I'm not telling you what to do. Everyone's got their different lane, but I learned that I don't need to get caught up in like, this is the message I'm trying to portray. This is the wave I'm trying to make. This is the goal I'm trying to reach. Those things will come. Just make the freaking music catchy and make it so that people want to keep playing it. And then as far as that goes, I mean, once you got that down pat, the rest usually comes easy. Playlisting gets easier, magazines, all that stuff comes along with it. So yeah, pair that with consistency and quality, and I mean, you're set.
And also, man, how can people who are listening right now, how can they stay in touch and find out all the breaking news that you'll be giving out in the future?
Yeah, so I mean, you can obviously follow me on Spotify, Valid Point, or whatever streaming platform you use. You can also follow me on Instagram, at Valid Point Music. That's where I pretty much keep everybody posted on what's going on. I don't have Twitter and all that because I suck at social media anyway. But yeah, you follow me on there, and I'll keep you guys posted.
Once again, true honor talking to Valid Point.
Yeah,
and
thanks for having me.
Man, thank you for being on I Am Refocused Radio. And you have a good one, man.
You too.